Hello everybody, Human Red Mist here, and as you can tell I'm hot, I'm sweaty, but I am here. I know recently I've gone on about how I've been feeling a bit rough recently. Today's probably the worst of them. I've had a busy weekend with it being my brother's birthday. So yeah, it's another day where I could easily have stayed in bed, but no, I've forced myself out of the house, and I've had to do a little bit of sort of cleaning preparation because I've had to have a little bit of a move around. So I'm going to give a little bit of an update on the base unit. I came up on Friday again to help my dad, and that did me in. It was so hot, it was ridiculous. But while I was here, I had a look at the unit, and it's looking very very nice, really nice. But my gut instinct is telling me that it needs another coat of the clear varnish. So I have decided that I am going to give it another coat of clear varnish. Excuse me, but the way that I've decided I'm going to do it is I am going to get the top of the unit to the same stage as the rest of it. So I've had to get some assistance to move the unit, get it down on the floor so that I can put two more coats of mahogany varnish on the top and a coat of clear varnish on the top, so that it's then at the same stage as everywhere else. Then it's only going to need one more coat of clear varnish. So the way that I'm basically going to work that is, once I've got the top to the same stage as the bottom, I will then put that second coat of clear varnish on the top and see how that looks. Right. And then if I need to add a third coat, I'll do that as well. Now, initially I was hoping to not have to use this many coats of varnish, but at the same time I'm not surprised that it might need it. So yeah, I mean, personally I can't say if I've ever looked up, like, is there a maximum amount of coats you should apply, but from the things that I have physically tried doing or seen in the past and the condition of stuff, for me it depends. Well, you're much better off doing many thin layers than a couple of really thick layers. So that's kind of the approach that this has ended up sort of taking. So I've not gone too thick on any of the layers of mahogany varnish. So I'm quite happy to build them up. But obviously with going with a clear coat, what it should do is it shouldn't affect the colour. So the colour of the base of the unit, the bottom piece of it, is the right colour. It does, just looking at it, it just needs something a little bit extra, and that's where the extra clear coats will come in. So once I've got the second clear coat on the top, I'll be able to see if that gives me that wow factor that I'm looking for, or if it needs a third one. I'd be surprised if it needs a third one, but at the same time I'd understand if it does need one. Now, one of the reasons why I'm doing this on the base as well instead of doing it on the drawers is a much bigger surface area gives you a much better view of how it looks. Whereas with the drawers, you'd be looking at a surface area of sort of that, and it's not very big. Whereas obviously I've got about 1.5 meters in length by a bit over half a metre width, as one just big piece of wood. So I get a much better view of what it'll look like. So my plan for today, well, before today, my plan for today was to get the two coats of mahogany varnish on and the clear coat on. Alright, so a lot of varnishing, but because it is just one big flat piece of wood with a routed edge, I was hoping it wouldn't be too much, but that was before I woke up today and felt. But to a degree, that is still my plan, still my intention. But I'm a bit pissed off with myself. With all the care that I have taken with this unit, I'm wondering why, when I had the base unit turned upside down, I didn't put something on the table for it to go on. Because as I've turned it the other way round, I've noticed a couple of little, there's a couple of little scratch marks, and also there's been a few little specks of wood which have just been pressed into the top a little bit. There was even a tiny speck of metal. Now where the fuck that's come from, I've no idea, but there's actually a couple of them. So how they got under there, I've no idea, because I cleaned the table before it was put on there. But yeah, I don't know why I didn't put something down to protect it. I can only guess that I thought, well, it's going to be upside down, it's going to be protected anyway. So yeah, I mean, I am gonna, in a second, I'm gonna get the camera and show what the top looks like, because I know I hadn't until till yesterday, I hadn't seen the top of it for a long time, and I know anyone that watches this hasn't. So I mentioned on the last video, I think, that I kind of remember the top looking a little bit red, sort of a little bit pinkish, a little reddish. But in actual fact, having turned it over, and with the rest of it now being the right sort of colour that I want the finish to be, the top actually doesn't look too bad. I think a couple of coats and it's going to look very, very nice. But I will flip the camera around in a minute and have a look at that. So I've had to kind of readjust my plans and my goals for today, in that, as much as I would like to get to the stage of having the clear coat done on the top, the first layer of clear coat I've done on the top today, I'm going to have to rein myself back a little bit and basically go, right, okay, well, first goal is get the first coat of mahogany varnish on. The second goal is to get the second coat of varnish on. Alright. Now I could set myself the third goal of going for the first clear coat, but for the first clear coat it would need a fine sanding, and in a way I would rather give it plenty of time to dry before I do that. But I've got to give at least an hour between coats anyway. So what do I do in that hour? Well, one of the things that occurred to me is I can potentially try and kill two birds with one tin of varnish. So bear with me a second. So, get to look at my fat arse. What I'm hoping to do is, I'm going to kind of do this a little bit backwards. Well, it's not backwards, but I'm going to try and do this. So I was just looking, the door's quite dirty. Okay, so we've got the shelf, right, which I could just leave it as it is, but to be honest, you know what, with it being inside, I probably could leave that actually, because it doesn't look too bad considering what it is, and it's never really going to get seen. So I could just, I could probably get away with not actually doing that. However, the door does need doing, right? This still needs another 2 coats of varnish, mahogany varnish, and then clear coat varnish. Now, with it being a door that's going to be opening, I'm going to do front and back, I've decided, which is a bit of a pain in the arse, because in a way I'd like to find somewhere that I could hang this up so that I could do both sides at the same time, but I don't think I've really got anything that I could do that. I'm not prepared for that. So I think what I'm going to do is basically do one coat of varnish on this, right, on the front. And as that's beginning to dry, I'm going to do the first coat of varnish on the top of the unit. And once I've done that, hopefully the front of this will have dried enough that I can then turn it around and do its first coat of varnish on the back. Right, so it would all have had 2 coats of varnish. Then as that's drying, I will probably take a little bit of a break, have a bite to eat, excuse me, and wait until the top has had an hour to dry, so that I can then do the second coat on that. Now if I'm waiting for that to dry and this is dried in time, then obviously I can do this one's in total third coat of mahogany varnish. So basically I'm going to try and do the door at the same time as doing the top. So basically while the top is drying, I can be giving this a bit of a varnishing, because I've kind of decided that the drawers I'm leaving till last. Okay, they're going to be the final piece of the puzzle, and I am actually contemplating taking them home with me to masking tape them up at home, because obviously I'm at home much more than I am here. So for example, if I take them home with me, there's a slim chance that I may be able to get them all masking taped by the time I come back, right? If that's next Monday or the Monday after. Or at least I could get some of them masking taped up. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing with the drawers. Take them home, prep them at home, where I can, I mean, even if I did, if I did one a day, it'd take 9 days, right? And hopefully it's not going to be that much of a ball ache, but I need to find out if it is. So anyway, so yeah, my aim for today is effectively 1 coat of varnish on the top of that and 1 coat of varnish on this, right? That's my main aim, right? Goal number 2 is to get the 2nd coat of varnish on that and the 2nd coat of varnish on this, right? If I am then feeling capable, I'll look at the 3rd coat, the first clear coat, because knowing that this whole unit, the base unit is going to need 2 clear coats, it means everything is going to need 2 clear coats, okay? So yeah, so I'm going to try and sort of do a little bit of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So it has meant that as I mentioned, I've had to move things around a little bit, so that I can actually access the top of the unit, because if it was on the table, it's too high even for me. I mean, I'm fucking 6'1", but it's too high for me. So I have had to move it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip the camera and show you the top. Okay, so here we go. It's been a while since we've seen the top. Now you might be able to see on the camera what I mean about how it's looking a little bit sort of reddish, a little bit pinkish, and I've just remembered I forgot to bring a really powerful torch I was going to bring, but you can see that the darker coloration of the side compared to the top, but that's because it's had multiple coats, obviously. Don't know if I'll be able to pick it up, but got a little mark here, that's one of them. I'm hoping that it's just a little sort of speck of dust or dirt that will come off, because I'm going to have to give this a clean before I actually go for this first or the next coat of varnish. Where were those scratches? Not easy to see. Yeah, they can just see it on the camera. So a few tiny little scratches, but I'm hoping, I mean, can't really feel them, so I'm hoping with a little bit of varnish it should be alright. And some more here as well. But I mean, I could go for sanding it down again, right? But I'm not going to do that because this has got old scratches in it anyway, right? So it's just going to become part of the feature of it. Now regarding the bits with the dowels, obviously we can still clearly see where they were. It'll be interesting to see how they get on with a couple more coats, but I think in some ways I have to understand that they will always be visible, but it's just part of its story, really. I mean, I don't think I've actually told my dad yet that these are from the old bed, but he's been keeping the bits of the old bed since like we were kids because it's good wood. So yeah, hopefully we'll be all right with that. Anyway, so that's my plan today. I'm going to give these a bit of a clean. I'm going to need to give the door a clean as well. That's covered in fucking wood dust. So I'm going to see what I can get done today, but I'm not expecting any miracles. So time to crack on. Okay, not done a clip like this for a while, just showing what it is that I'm actually using in total. Okay, so on the table that the unit was on, obviously I've got the door that's waiting to be cleaned. Behind me is the base unit, also waiting to be cleaned. So obviously I've got my gloves, my cloth, mask, white spirits, safety glasses. Although when I'm varnishing I won't use that, but it's more for when I'm using the white spirits. I've got my varnish, screwdriver, which Dad will bollock me for opening the tin with, brush, which I shouldn't really need now, a couple of sponges, a stirrer for the varnish, and my stirrer for the clear varnish is over there. I'm just using scrap bits of wood for that. Now, shaking varnish, don't do. Not a good idea, creates bubbles in the varnish, end up with bubbles on your wood. But one of the things I wanted to show here is, obviously these are the sponges that I'm using, just a normal scouring sponge for doing the varnishing, and I've got to say I'm very happy with how it's working. It works better for me. My brother's wife had been watching the videos and said that she'd got a couple of sponges I might be able to use, and they're basically makeup sponges, which I've been saving for this point. Because when I came to put the first layer of varnish on this door, it was a little bit awkward getting into some of these gaps because they are quite deep. But with this, I will be able to get right in there. Admittedly, my little brother did say to me, yeah, but Dave, you can just cut a sponge into any shape you want. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. But to be fair, these are very, very soft. So I'm going to try these anyway, just to see what it's like, and mainly to see if James ends up using Vicky's makeup brushes. As long as she doesn't end up putting mahogany varnish on her eyebrows, James, you'll be fine. So that's what I'm going to be using today. So I am now going to crack on, give these a clean. I'm half tempted to see if I can actually perhaps put the camera on me doing the varnishing on the door. I'll see if I'm able to position it, but I haven't got a tripod or anything, so but anyway, see how we get on. Now, do you remember how I've said that all of the sanding's done? By the way, I'm struggling like fuck to get motivated today, but yeah, so I'd said that all of the sanding is done. No, it's not. Now, admittedly, it's not something that I've forgotten or something that I've seen and gone, oh shit, I haven't done that, or anything like that. Well, basically, I'll show you. With this unit, right, if this is going up against the wall, you have a skirting board, which means there's going to be a gap at the back. And I hadn't really thought about this until sort of, well, yesterday-ish, because when I was in here having a look at this with my dad, he just happened to mention that there used to be a back plate that would go on the back, a lip. And I was like, oh right. I was like, well, do you want one doing? He says, well, if I have a look at some point, I could probably find it. And to be honest, where it's going, having a backing piece makes sense. So while I was waiting, thinking, oh, I can't get my, I've cleaned the tops by the top of the door. So while I'm waiting for them to dry, I thought, well, I'll just have a look at the wood, see if the back plate is there, and lo and behold, straight away, I find that. Now this, if this is the one, this is in awful, well, it's not in awful condition, it's actually in, given the age and the fact that it's not been attached, it's actually not that bad, but that needs a full sanding down and a full treatment. Now, I've kind of got mixed emotions at the moment. And the reason I've got mixed emotions is because today I'm not, like I said, I'm not very motivated today. I'm struggling to get motivated. So finding that, it's kind of like, oh, for fuck's sake. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that I found that, because it means I don't have to go and find a bit of wood, cut it up, work out how I'm going to have it edged, blah, blah, blah. If that's the piece, all I've got to do is sand it, clean it, 3 coats of mahogany varnish, 2 coats of clear varnish. So it's helping me, but it's also adding more work. So I think in some respects what I need to do is forget about that for now. I think the best thing that I can do with that is, actually it's got me fucking thinking now. Because whilst this is what happens when not feeling great. Trying to work things out is not easy to do, and even if I think I've worked something out, I then think, yeah, well, what about this or that or this, and it ends up with like no production and just confusion and anger and frustration. So as I was looking at it, I was thinking, well, what I'll do is I'll get everything that I'd already said I was going to do done up to the drawers, and then to sort that out before I do the drawers, because I do want the drawers to be the last bit, okay? But then as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, it's not really a fiddly piece. It's got no grooves. So maybe while I'm putting a coat of varnish on the unit and door and waiting for it to dry, maybe I could take that into the other room and see how difficult it's going to be to sand it down. Because if it's not difficult, it won't take long. See, so now I'm thinking, and then if I got that done, considering that I've got all my cleaning and varnishing stuff here, maybe I could, so yeah, you see where my mind's going, maybe I could get a couple of coats of varnish on it and get it up to a certain point and perhaps incorporate it into what I'm doing at the moment. For fuck's sake. Now if this was a day where I was feeling much more motivated, I think I wouldn't be sat here talking to the camera, I'd have done it. So I'm going to have a think about that. And I think what I'm going to do, to be honest, is while I'm varnishing the top and the door, I will try and work out what I'm going to do there, because that's going to fucking bug me now. Admittedly, I have taken a picture of it and texted it to my dad saying, is this the backing plate? He'll probably reply saying, no, it's the door, because you can see half of the fucking door in the picture. So yeah. So this is where it's difficult for me, because I'm like, okay, I want to get that done and I could incorporate it, but if I do that, I might not achieve the goals that I've set out for myself today. So do I just stick to what I was going to do today, knowing that that is potentially now found and can be done at another time? Yeah. Put this into perspective. If I can't make a fucking decision what to do about that, how the fuck am I meant to make a decision on where to take a woman for dinner? Jesus. By the way, the noise you can hear, I've had to put a fan on. I didn't have it on in the earlier clips because it makes a lot of noise, so if you can't hear any, it'd be quite funny if this is just literally a video clip of me going, yeah. I mean, what are the chances of... See, this is where my brain, and James potentially, I know his mind works in a similar way, might be able to relate to this. See, this is where, I mean, some people that look at me finding this piece of wood and think it's nothing more than just someone finding a piece of wood. But it's the... Like, considering how much wood there is here and how old this wood is, I mean, like I said, we're talking nearly 50 years old. What's the chances that I would walk into that room, look in the first tub and go, hang on a minute, I think that's it. And yeah, it's the right length, it's the right size, it's the right colour, it's got a sort of very close grain, it looks like the right type of wood. I'll have a look in a second if... I'm going to look at... Right, I'm going to look if the screw holes match. Because if the screw holes match, then it's the piece of wood, right? So my mind's thinking, okay, is this just coincidence? Or is it spiritually a reward for having done everything so far? It's a way of things going, well, look, we don't want you to miss this bit. Well, if that's the case, find me some fucking handles. Right, give me a second. You know what? They match. So now my mind is going, yeah, got to do that. So I'm happy to have found it. And my dad will be happy that I found it as well. I mean, didn't have to look hard, it was just there. Well, okay, a little oddly, seeing those screw holes match up, sort of instantly, see, I'm like, not anger, I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's fucking do it. Let's sort this fucking... Let's crack on. Is that the motivation's just kicked in? Right, okay. It's time to stop waffling. Start varnishing. Update time. Quite a few hours have passed by. And to be honest, I hadn't realised they had. Yeah, so update time. I said I was going to go... Once I'd done the varnishing on the door and the top, that I would have a break and get a bite to eat. That didn't happen. Yeah, that didn't happen because I fucking sanded the piece of wood. Thankfully, it didn't take that long to sand. It was very, very easy to get it off. It didn't take long at all. So this is now ready for a clean, and then it can be varnished. So I am kind of potentially going to incorporate it into what I'm doing at the moment, but I can't believe, I'm looking at my arm as if I've got a watch on. I don't wear watches. I just can't believe how many hours have passed by. On the last clip I'd mentioned about like having a boost of motivation, and I definitely did. But I think I've pushed myself a little bit too hard. Also, I'd forgotten how fucking much of a pain in the arse the door is to actually varnish. But I will say, I did try using these, and to be honest, very good for doing in the grooves. Very, very good for doing in the grooves. The only thing is I then expanded into using it for doing a bit of the edging around the inside of the door, and unfortunately that's not worked as well, because I think there's a bit of a reaction with the foam on this sponge, and yeah, it was starting to leave debris on the varnish, shall I say. So I went back to the trusty, oh bugger, oh yeah, went back to the trusty cotton bud for doing up against the edges on the panel on the door, but for in the grooves, yeah, that sponge was absolutely fine. Because it's a different texture to the normal sponges, it did work very, very well. So I'm going to see, I've got, cause I think I had 3 of them, and I think I've only used 1 so far. So I might use one of the others, one of the ones I haven't used yet, for putting the varnish on the next bit. I'm still waiting for the door to dry. Now there's the back of the door to dry. Now there's a possibility that I turned the door over too soon. Now I haven't looked at the front of the door. This is the back, and when I said about the panel and the edging, I'm on about right up. You can't see it, right up into these corners. The sponge, like I say, this sponge worked really, really well for getting up to the edge. But yes, like I say, started leaving a bit of debris. Now it's possible that I turned this over too soon, because basically I've got it on a piece of wood in each corner. So it's possible that I turned it over too soon on the front face. So I haven't looked at the front face yet, but I might find I've got marks in each corner. If I have, I'm going to be pissed off with myself, because that's just basically me being impatient. You know what? It's actually alright, it's fine. Let's have a look how it's looking on camera. Bit difficult to see, but hopefully you can tell that compared to before and after pictures, definitely a lot darker. The repair is still visible, but is just looking a lot better. How's the back looking? Not bad. To be honest, I was getting a little rough with the back because my back was going, and I ended up rushing a little bit, to be honest. Now the worktop, or should I say, well, it was a worktop. Now the top, I have to say, was a little bit fucking awkward until halfway through. It may be possible on the one of the pictures of after the very first coat of varnish, which was obviously done fucking months ago. There was quite a different bit of sort of coloration over the span of the board. Now I do remember, or halfway through applying varnish this time, I kind of remembered that I had done a very, very thin layer, right? And then I remembered that I had said I may not have actually spread it as well as I should have done. Once I remembered that, I started applying considerably more varnish. And to be honest, I did re-go over a few bits a few times. So technically speaking, a coat is you put it on, you let it dry for an hour, and you put another coat on. Well, what I did was, I'll show you actually. Hang on. Okay, so here's the surface. Now I know on camera, sorry, fingers are in the way. There's sort of a strip that looks light. It's not actually that light on in person, but there is a bit of a difference in coloration, and that's kind of what I was on about. But on the first layer, sort of a lot of the back edge seemed a lot lighter than the middle. Now I think it's partly the wood and partly potentially the varnish. So what I did was I'd started applying varnish all the way up and down the back, right? Well, not the back, but you know what I mean, the back edge. Got about halfway through and then remembered, yeah, I had put a very light layer on, right? So what I then did was I continued on, right, and then as the basically I did the whole thing, but as I'd got to this end, that end had started to dry a little bit, so I went over it again with more varnish, but I didn't actually re-go over this middle bit. So even though the middle bit looks darker, which it does, that hasn't actually had more varnish applied to it. The rest of it has. So I think what I'll do when it comes to the final coat of mahogany varnish, I'm probably going to try again applying quite a bit, but more so up that edge, not necessarily this edge, it's the light that's on there, and this front edge, potentially trying to put a little bit less in the middle. The problem is, if you don't evenly spread your varnish, it can leave really, really bad ends of streaks, shall we say, which I have probably got. I mean, I'm looking at this and I've got to say it's looking very shiny. Once again though, given the position of the lights in here, it's not easy to see what it looks so much brighter on the camera in comparison. I mean, I don't know, I don't think I could block out the light, because there's one directly above me. But yeah, it is looking quite nice, and the dowels aren't looking too bad really. I mean, they're always going to be noticeable, but I'm liking how that's looking at the moment. But I am trying to give it plenty of time to dry, because it kind of still looks like it's got a bit of a wet look to it. So that's one of the reasons why I also did the piece of sanded the piece of wood in the other room, just to give this plenty of time to dry. Now the front of the door, interestingly, hasn't quite got that kind of shine, but then the door, if I remember rightly, originally when I sanded it down, it did have quite a bit of a difference in a different coloration to the rest of the unit, but we'll see how it is when it goes back together. Either way, it is fair to say that up to now it is in better condition than when I started, and that is important. Okay, so what am I doing now? Well, what I'm doing is I am now having a little bit of a break, having a little having a rest. My back is, I've cracked my back a couple of times, and it's helped, but my back is hurting. I really need to get in to see a chiropractor, or at least some professional that can fucking bend me ways that I've never been bent. I'm pretty sure my spine and hips and neck aren't in alignment. So yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have the pain relief when I crack my back. Anyway, yeah, so I am going to get this piece of wood cleaned, because as you've seen earlier on, I've got everything out, and it just needs a wipe down basically. And then once I've done that, obviously I can, once I've cleaned I am going to try and get a coat of varnish on it. So what I'm actually going to do is, that'll be the first thing I varnish when I go to do the next coats on these. The thing is, I kind of have to be very, very careful now, because I've already pushed myself too far, and if I push myself much more, I could end up incapacitated easily for a number of days. So yeah, but I do want to get that cleaned and then varnished with at least one coat. And I also want to get the next coat of varnish on the top, so I'm going to do that before I do the next coat on the door, because if I don't get to do the next coat on the door today, which I think is highly likely that I'm not, I want to have at least got the final mahogany coat on the top of the unit. which would mean that next time I am here, I would be able to give it a light sanding, and give it a clean, and give it a clear coat. Okay. So I'm having to readjust my plans a little bit. I mean, finding that piece of wood did throw a bit of a spanner in the works, definitely. But at the same time, like I said, I'm kind of happy that I found that, because I was thinking of like, okay, which piece of wood am I going to use? How, like for example, the base unit, as you've seen, it's got a routed edge, right? If you don't know what that means, Google it, or Gloogly, or whatever it is. Gloo it. Yeah, so this has obviously got a rounded corner, right? It's got a bit of an angle on it. Now, I was already thinking, well, okay, which piece of wood am I going to use? Because as far as I know, we haven't really got any mahogany here other than what this unit is. So I was thinking, okay, I need to find a piece of wood that's either the right length or I'm going to have to cut it down. If I'm going to have to cut it down, then what am I going to do on the ends? Because I don't just want to do a square. It wouldn't look right. It really wouldn't. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, do I need something that's got a routed edge? Do I go something that's got a level top, or do I go something that's got a curvature in it? And then I'm thinking, well, not the curvature, because that wouldn't match with the rest of the unit. Everything is straight lines. So yeah, it now means I don't have to think about that at all, which is very, very good. So yeah, so I think I'm going to continue having my break, and I shall give an update in a little while as to how I've got on. Well, I've put the second coat today, third in total, mahogany varnish on the top, and I've got to say it's looking absolutely stunning. I am just waiting for it to completely dry. I don't know, I may be able to get a clear coat of varnish on today, but to be honest, I think I'd be better off leaving it a week, because if the top, for example, could do with another coat of mahogany varnish, I'd rather give it that rather than a clear coat. And I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I know on camera, as I've already said, it looks like there's quite a few light patches, and it's nowhere near as bad in person, but it is looking very, very nice. Yeah, I mean, it's got a lovely shine on it as well, and I'm not even putting it clear. But then, as I said, I'm waiting for it to dry. I have also started putting a bit of varnish on the backing piece, which seems to be soaking up the varnish very quickly. I've got a feeling it's going to end up a lot darker. And if I show you, I mean, that's one thin coat of varnish, and it's very, very dark. So I've got, yeah, I'm a bit baffled by that. I mean, it's drying very, very quickly as well. Yeah, it's dry. I mean, literally, I did it 5 minutes ago. So I'm a bit baffled by that, but I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. Now, one of the things that I have to be careful with is I can only do one side at a time. So what I've basically had to do, and I'll have to remember this in the future, is this is the back bit. This will be up against the wall. So I can do this back piece, but when it comes to doing the top, I don't want to do the top until I'm doing that side. So if I'm doing that side, I can make sure that it's all smooth, all connected, and doesn't look dodgy. Whereas this edge, won't matter as much because it's up against the wall. Okay, well, I'm going to flip that over and put varnish on the other side. Okay, where are we up to now? Well, it's getting quite late actually. I've overdone myself, I really have. Okay. The top has now had you know what, I've forgotten. I think it's had 3 coats today of mahogany varnish. If I've already said that it's had a 3rd coat, then it's had a 4th. If I haven't already said it's had a 3rd coat, then it's had a 3rd coat. Either way, I put an extra one on. It definitely needed it, it really did. I'm not going to touch it again tonight. It's looking good, it's looking alright, but I think now I just need to let it dry. I'm going to leave it a week, I'm fucked. So yeah, the strip that goes across the back, I have given this 2 coats now. That's the actual back of it. This is the side that will be seen. Can't get it all in the picture. Now, it's not looking too bad really, to be fair, but obviously this needs to match the top. So I think what I'm going to do tonight, is I'm going to get one more coat on this, and then I know that this has had 3 coats, and then I'll leave this. I'll be able to watch the video back myself, because I honestly can't remember if I've put 3 on that or 4. I really can't fucking remember. Yeah, so I'm going to get a 3rd one on this anyway, and then when I watch the video back, it'll let me know whether this should have an extra one or not. But what I'm actually thinking of doing is getting this to colour match the top, which at the moment it doesn't, okay? Which isn't a surprise, because this has only had 2 coats. So yeah, I'm going to get a colour match, or try to. Then I'm actually thinking I'm going to connect this onto the back before I put the clear coats on. Alright, that way it will be easier to apply the clear coats to this, because it will be held in place and I can clear coat all the bits that are required. Okay, I could clear coat it in the same way I've done these coats, but I don't really see the point. Okay, so fuck off. Alright. Yeah, so I am thinking about putting this in place for the clear coats. So yeah, so I've got 2 coats on that up to now, and I am going to put one more on that before I go home. The door has now had a total of 3 coats. It already had 1, and so I've put 2 coats on that today. That is drying a little bit at the moment, and one of the reasons why I'm definitely not doing anything other than that last little piece, other than that backing piece, is because when I was doing the door, I started to see that I was leaving a few splodges, right? And I've avoided splodges, excuse me, throughout the whole of this process. So that, and you add in the fact I can't even remember how many coats I've put on that, even though I've been telling myself all day. Yeah, it's pretty much time to call it a night. That's why I mean, that's that one piece. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, the door, I mentioned that it was looking a different colour, and it was, but the 3rd coat really made a difference. I can't show it at the moment because it's currently upside down, waiting for the back of the door to dry. But even the back of the door is looking a lot better. So yeah, I mean, I think today's videos are probably going to be quite long, but it's really weird that a piece of wood motivated me to do more and more and more. I mean, I am suffering. I really am suffering. I shouldn't have done it, but I really shouldn't have done it. But what can I say? I'm gonna fucking treat myself tonight. I say that, but yeah. So my mind pretty much stopped fucking working properly. And I think what it is, it was the challenge. Well, it was a challenge to me. It was what am I gonna do about that backing piece? Could I leave it? Should I do it? Blah blah blah. The door, should I only do one coat on it, or should I do both coats on it? Blah, blah. And basically, I've ended up doing one bit and then just going to the next bit and then going to the next bit and going to the next bit. We've given myself lots of sort of breaks in between. It's really, is it odd or is it interesting that I started today with I'd got one goal, right, and that was to get one coat on the top and the door, with a secondary goal of get the second coat on. Obviously that bit of backing piece threw a spanner in the works, but what ended up happening was I got the front of the door done, one coat on there, then I found the back, then I did the second coat on, no, I turned the door, did the back of the door, then put the second coat on, and that's when I then found the backing piece. So then I was like, ooh, what do I do? So what I decided to do while I was waiting was put another coat on the top. It has had 4. I'm thinking it has had 4 coats now in total, right? Because I put a third coat on this, then I went and sanded the backing piece. So it was like, right, okay, well if I put the third coat on this, right, then I can go and sand the backing piece while that's drying, and if this is still drying, then I can clean and put a coat of varnish on the backing piece. So once that backing piece was done, it was like, okay, well, is the top dry enough yet? Not sure. I'll let it dry a bit longer. Right, okay, well, I'll get the door back, because I put the door to one side. I'll get the door back and put a coat on that. And then the backing piece had dried, and it was like, well, I can put another coat on that. Well, now that the top's dried, but it's looking like really could probably do with a little bit more colour. So I'll put another coat on that, and while I'm letting that dry, it's like, right, well, now I can turn the door over. So it's kind of like one finger's led to the other, yeah, which has kind of fried me a bit. I mean, physically I'm fucked. You know what, I'm not gonna do that third coat on that backing piece. I've done too much already. I mean, I'm sitting here now thinking my fucking back is killing me. I need to move, go home. I still need to hang me washing up. Well, not hang me washing up, but put me washing on the I was going to say draining board. You don't fucking put washing on draining board. Clothes horse. Yeah, and that always fucks my back up. So considering that my back's fucked, that's going to be, yeah, it's going to be fucking evil. But on the positive, I came here today feeling awful. And yeah, I feel worse now. But I'm not angry with myself feeling rough and hurting. I'm not angry. I'm actually quite happy, because I have done a lot, and all I have to do is turn around, look at the top of the unit and go, that looks fucking good. I did that. It really does look good. I'm nearly getting fucking emotional there. I mean, a year ago, I wouldn't have even thought I could possibly even entertain the idea of doing something like this. But, and okay, yeah, it's taken, I think it's 8 months now, something like that, if not longer. But it's getting there. Something else I've done as well, the unit, I've actually got it on pieces of wood, so the unit's not sitting on the floor. One, so it doesn't get scratched, and two, so when I come to do the clear coat of varnish, I can really get right down to the right down to the bottom, basically, to try and make it a little bit easier. I mean, ultimately, it is bugging me that the masking tape is still on this unit, but I don't want to have to re-masking tape it. I am just going to have to hope that when it comes to peeling it off, it's all going to look okay. The drawers are still going to be the last thing I'll do. Well, I say the last thing I'll do. They're going to be the last thing that's going to get varnished and put together. Still need to find some handles. So yeah, I need to do that. I mean, I haven't been looking recently. I need to start looking again, because, and you know what, I thought about taking the drawers home. No chance. There's no way I can move any of them. What was I saying? That was it, yeah. And getting ever closer to completion. So much so that I've actually already been thinking about. Well, I know how I'm going to get it back over to the house. Because my mum's got a big trolley that it can go on. But when it was brought over here, literally we just put it on the trolley. I'm not doing that to take it back. Because it'd scratch it to fuck. Even if I put it on its back, it'd scratch it to fuck. So I have already been thinking, okay, what am I going to do? One possibility is getting a piece of wood the size of the back of the unit. So put the piece of wood onto the trolley, and then this can go onto the piece of wood, and potentially either a big cloth, or if we've got some foam or bubble wrap or something. But yeah, I must admit, yeah, I'm amazed that I've done that so far. I mean, it ain't finished. Okay, yeah, I mean, I say it ain't finished, but it looks fucking amazing already. It really does. And it ain't finished. It's still got the clear coats to try and really get a shine out of it. Now, admittedly, something I should mention actually is, yes, the top has had additional coats compared to the base, but it's required it to get the colour to match, or at least to look to match. Okay. So although the top has had additional coats, I am not going to put additional coats on the bottom part of the base. Not a varnish. Of mahogany varnish. Clear varnish, yes, but mahogany varnish. So I need to make sure its tin's closed. Mahogany varnish, no. So that's something obviously that I've learned, that although my initial plan was 3 coats on all and a clear coat done, obviously I've learned that's not always the case. Sometimes wood, even if it's the same wood, can be different colours, different shades when you've sanded them, depending on what they've had on them through their life, can affect the colour of the wood as well. So obviously I've learned that sometimes you have to go, wait a minute, this needs a bit of extra attention, or that needs a bit of extra attention. And I mean, well, it's nearly dry. I mean, one thing that I'm liking about it at the moment is that it is pretty much dry, but it's almost still got a wet look. And that's kind of what I'm going for. That's kind of what I like. But obviously this could really do with a week to really dry off. So that's what I'm going to do. Also, I'm starting to get a little low on this, so I need to make sure I take a picture of this, because I'm thinking better safe than sorry. Get another tin of exactly the same stuff, just in case, because the last thing I want to do is be part way through doing stuff, run out of that and go, fuck, I knew I should have got some. At the end of the day, it can always be used on other stuff. So yeah, right, stop waffling, Dave, and just fucking go home, mate. Right, have a good one, everyone. Today has been a painfully good day. See you in a bit.